Music break. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for introducing yourself. We'll take it off schedule. Yeah. Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks so much, Alexandra, for having such lively music there for us. Welcome, everyone. Today is Wednesday, October 26th. It's the middle of the week, and we are very happy to have you join us this afternoon or early evening. We're going to be allowing more folks in, and we thank you for spending the next hour with us in this Biliteracy network provided by the Multilingual California Alliance Project and colleagues that are here with us. We'll do formal introductions in just a moment. So thanks so much for coming in and introducing yourself in the chat. I see so much representation from districts and organizations across the state and beyond. We're happy that you're here. We see teachers that are here, principals that are here, leaders across the state in various school settings. So once again, welcome to our MCAP Seal of Biliteracy Network provided by MCAP through the EWIG implementation grant offered by the CDE. We're here joined by several of our friends that are going to be sharing information. Today's session is being recorded for purposes of the grant and to make it available to those colleagues that were not able to join us today. So as we move into today's presentation, I'm going to ask Alexandra if you can please give me your slide access, or if you can move it to the next one, please. Thanks again for joining us. And I do see that we have curriculum leaders, coaches, teachers, principals. This afternoon, we are going to have an opportunity to engage in networking in breakout groups. So just to get us thinking about what group would you like to be a part of, you're going to have an option later this afternoon to select the group that you'd like to be a part of. You can be a part of a pathway to biliteracy if you're looking at options for how do I implement a TK8 recognition. You can also look at State Seal of Biliteracy. That's the recognition at the high school level for graduating seniors. And it's also that recognition it is for our seniors, but it's for students that are at the high school level, and also a place to have conversations about perhaps how do I get more seniors to get recognized or to meet the criteria. We also have a group of University SEAL today with us. We have a great partner and friend, Dr. Cristina Alfaro, who's going to talk to us about the University SEAL. And if you're not sure, and if you want to be in multiple conversations, join our multiple conversation group, Room 4. So just to have those in mind as we continue with our work together today. We want to remind you that we have created a links folder for you. So if you grab your cell phone, if you're able to, we'll be able to provide you a copy of today's slides as well as a link for today's recording. But if you want to access our materials, you can access those today through this QR code. It does include several of the resources shared by our presenters, several of the resources shared to us by the California Department of Education. And our friend and colleague, Gina Garcia-Smith, was with us during the last Biliteracy Network and shared a ton of resources for implementing and growing your biliteracy programs. You also will have a copy of the slides, and in today's slides, you'll see additional resources. So please, we're going to drop the link, the bit.ly, in the chat, but also you can access this through your cell phone. So we are excited to have you all here today, and we're going to go ahead and get started for this afternoon. My name is Dr. Alma Castro. I am the director of the Multilingual Project. And joining us today are several of our colleagues, including our MCAP leads, our CABE CEO, Jan Gustafson Correa, also sends her greeting to you. We have our partner from San Diego State University, Dr. Cristina Alfaro here, and Angelica Hurtado, who's our MCAP lead for San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools, and is also going to be presenting today on an amazing recognition kicking off tomorrow, Angelica. So we're very thrilled to have you here today. Thank you for that. So as we move on into today's presentation, we will go ahead and share a little bit more about the MCAP networks. Biliteracy networks are really grounded on the California English Learner Roadmap, the California Success for All English Learners, to ensure that our students' multilinguistic talents are uplifted, valued, and recognized at our schools. Part of the work for the network of biliteracy is, how do we further recognize biliteracy in all students? How do we support their primary language and other language learning in all of our classrooms? And how do we continue to support this California vision of success for English learners? Again, this work is made possible through our EWIG, Educator Workforce Investment Grant, granted by the California Department of Education to our Multilingual California project. And really, it's about implementing the English Learner Roadmap policy. Our work is centered around the goals of continuing to build leadership on EL Roadmap policy, continuing to build capacity, and supporting the implementation of the EL Roadmap policy within and across school systems. Today's model of the network of biliteracy really grounds this work of a PK-12 vision of biliteracy, but going beyond a PK-12 to a PK-20 with the support and collaboration of our colleagues at San Diego State University under the leadership of Dr. Cristina Alfaro. So as we get started for today's session, here are our outcomes. We will be creating a statewide network of support to scale and build awareness of the pathway for the seal of biliteracy and pathway recognition. And as a reminder, the pathway recognition was launched by the California Department of Education last year with recognizing students from the elementary and middle school settings. We're also going to engage in learning about best practices for implementing and growing the seal of biliteracy recognition, and also for celebration. And with that, Angelica is going to take us into that celebratory moment, right? Recognition. We have our colleagues from SDSU who are going to talk to us about the implementation of the university seal in its third year, and a draft of a handbook to engage in dialogue with other IHEs, Institutes of Higher Education, to implement this work. And you're also going to be receiving resources to take back information to your schools, to your districts, on implementing or growing the state seal of biliteracy or pathway seal that was launched by the California Department of Education, and also information about the university seal. So just very quickly, In August, when we met, we had over 100 participants, and we have close to 120 participants today. And we say gracias. Thanks for being here today and learning alongside us. So in August, we had our friend from the CDE, Gina Garcia Smith, and she presented on the pathway to biliteracy. We also had our friends from San Diego and San Bernardino counties, Isela and Angelica, and they provided examples on how our districts and how our counties implementing the state seal of biliteracy and also the newly announced pathway to biliteracy. We learned briefly about the University Seal of Biliteracy and Cultural Competence, and Dr. Cristina Alfaro has been invited again today to expand and elaborate a little bit more about that work and how we can spread it through other IHEs. We also learned from our friends Arthur and Jonathan at Velasquez Press about their move for the nationwide Seal of Biliteracy programs and also family engagement. So today they're here with us expanding on those conversations. As a reminder, we are going to move into breakout groups about 20 minutes from now. And when we do, we're going to ask you to think about which group you'd like to be in. Pathway to Biliteracy, maybe the State Seal of Biliteracy, maybe the University Seal. And if you're not sure, you want to join just a room with conversation, you're welcome to do so. So you're going to have to rename yourself at some point and identify 1, 2, 3, or 4. Which group would you like to be a part of? So continuing with today's work, wanted just a few reminders. We know that the California State Seal of Biliteracy, it's in its 10th year of implementation. Congratulations to all of the districts for recognizing our students at a state level for their multilinguistic talents and their communities as well. We recognize our high school students who graduate and are able to attain high levels of proficiency in English and in other languages. It's an opportunity to promote language instruction, and the Seal of Biliteracy also affirms and values the diversity and honors the multiple cultures and languages of our communities. The Seal of Biliteracy also provides university with a method to recognize and give academic credit to its applicants. So again, this is a quick review of what is the State Seal of Biliteracy. And a quick reminder and a refresh. This is citing the CDE under the work and leadership of Gina Garcia Smith. She was here with us in August and talked to us about 3 pathway recognitions, right? Or a biliteracy pathway recognition, the biliteracy program and participation recognition, the home language development recognition, and the biliteracy attainment recognition. So we know that many schools for the first year, last year, engaged in recognizing students at the elementary or middle school levels. And we are going to continue to provide the resources and links provided by the CDE so that you could go further in your learning and recognizing our students. Now, as we think about how do we recognize our students and having just a little bit of background, right, about what is a state seal and what is the pathway to biliteracy, we have invited our friend and an expert in the area of celebrating student multilinguistic talents. Our friend Angelica Hurtado is also our MCAP lead from San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools. And along with her amazing team in San Bernardino and under the leadership of the county office superintendent, they have really been innovative on how do we recognize students early on. So Angelica is going to share some best practices with us about celebration, about engaging communities. And Angelica, we're just really thrilled to invite you back, to have you back as part of our biliteracy network. So I'll hand it over to you, Angelica. Thanks again for being here with us.
Thank you, Alma. It's so great to be here. And it is truly a celebration today because tomorrow we are holding one of our biggest Seal of Biliteracy ceremonies in person. The past ceremonies have been online. And so the entire team here at the Multilingual Education at SBCSS have been working very hard to make sure that this comes to fruition. let me tell you a little bit about the background. Last year, our superintendent's vision was to really highlight and celebrate students who were on the path of receiving the seal of biliteracy, but also catching the students that were probably that didn't even know that the seal existed. The main purpose for him to do that was that he wants them to include it in their college application since they're seniors and they're applying to college. And so for that, he says, we need to start looking at the list and see if we can honor them in October, before they turn in their college applications. So for this, we had to build a network with our districts. And let me go ahead and show you the next slide just so that you see the districts that are participating. This was last year that we started. And so this year we have a good number of districts participating. There's more added this year, but can you guys change the slide so that, yes, thank you so much. So what happened last year, as I said, we did it online. This year we met with our districts, and by the way, we have an assigned liaison to each of our districts. We provide services to 33 districts. However, not all of them are high school, none of them, not all of them go all the way to 12th grade. So some are K-6. So the ones that you see on the flyer, they're all K through 12. And they do have graduating seniors that are eligible. Of course, we had to work with our liaisons. They had to work with our data teams. Multiple meetings that we held with our liaisons so that we're all on the same page. But as you can see on the flyer, it was their idea, because the county is so large, it was their idea to have one ceremony in each of the regions. And so what we're holding, the very first one is going to be at what we call the West End, and it's going to be at the Ontario Convention Center. That's one of our biggest ones. And then we also have one in the High Desert and one in the East Valley, and would be, closer to San Bernardino downtown. So you can see all of our districts that are participating there. In addition to the in-person ceremony, we are going to broadcast this live through Zoom. It was going to be a Zoom webinar. Our IT team thought that was the best way to go. And so everyone will get to see it. Because of the capacity, we are asking our students to bring 2 guests, and all the other family members or friends can watch the Zoom presentation. So a total of 2,500, more or less approximate, because the numbers are still coming in. 2,500 approximately are students going to be recognized. And yeah, I told you about the liaisons already being part of it, but this takes a very collaborative effort. So for those of you that are wanting to start, we're more than welcome to, give you the challenges, but also the celebrations. Districts, they really got very smart by now on how to gather the data, and of course, they're only turning in the names of students that they know for sure are already qualified. At the end of the year, they're gonna add even more students, right? But these are only the students that they know for sure qualify. And so basically this is it. And if you have any questions, let me know. And you know, there's a lot of logistics to think about, but we're open to any questions that you may have for those of you that are thinking of starting something like this countywide.
Angelica, we just want to thank you. Thank you for bringing a model that we can consider and think through it and have these extended conversations at the county levels, at the district levels about celebrations. I know in the past 2 years, because of COVID, your celebrations were on Zoom, and it was just incredible to see the students. One of the very important pieces is the collaboration that you bring in from the district's liaisons, whether it's from the parent center liaisons, whether it's a counselor, whether it's an assistant principal or a principal, a teacher that comes in. It was really impressive to see how at the school level, district, and countywide, there's this sense of collaboration to recognize all students. Supporting the districts to gather data is an important conversation. And I know that colleagues that are here with us today are probably also thinking on how do we better improve our system to gather student data and do an early celebration or early recognition, such as what you're doing in San Bernardino. So I want to thank you, your team, of course, your superintendent, for having this vision of recognizing students early on. And in conversations with Angelica, we've learned that the intent is really to ensure that students have information, recognition ahead of time and are able to indicate this on college applications. Angelica, is there anything else you would like to add?
I just want to thank also CDE for Gina Garcia Smith. We have used her resources tremendously that have been on their website. And then also just the importance of the liaisons. That's our lifeline, from the districts to the county office, and just keeping that communication going with them as you plan, or as we plan. We even came up with like a student booklet so they know exactly what their expectation is going to be, as they enter the building, as they sign in, as where they're going to be sitting, how they walk up on the stage. So we have a booklet, a PowerPoint for liaisons, for students. So all of those things where we all collaborate together. So want to give a shout out to our liaisons here in all the districts in our San Bernardino County, and thank all of them tremendously.
Angelica, thanks again. And I do see a couple of questions on the chat before we move on to our next presenter that I wanted to see if we have access to the Zoom. There are some folks that are asking, can they come in to the ceremony to see the process, to help us learn from your county. If we're able to come to the party via Zoom, if you're able to drop, where our colleagues can help you drop the link on there.
Yes, I believe Sarah has the link, and there is a passcode, so you guys are all welcome to join us.
Okay, wonderful.
So, and then I'll try to put it in as well, Alma, for the Zoom.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
I do believe you mentioned it might be recorded. And so if those ceremonies are recorded, of course, I will connect with Angelica and we'll see if we could make that accessible through those of you that are here, or through a future webinar or network that we're having. Our next network will be on October 8th. So more information to come on that. But Angelica, we thank you so much for your leadership and the work that you're doing in San Bernardino in recognizing our students. And of course, we do have our friends from the California Department of Education joining us today. I want to say thank you, Sandra Covarrubias, for your leadership and your support. And Gina Garcia Smith is also here with us. And thank you for bringing resources that we can share through these biliteracy networks. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and invite, we also have a couple of other colleagues that have joined us from Velasquez Press. Our friends Jonathan Ruiz and Arthur are here with us that are going to continue to share a little bit about how, not only the recognition, but just information on family engagement as well. So we welcome you, Arthur or Jonathan. Welcome to today's network.
Hey, thank you so much, Dr. Castro, for inviting us to participate in this amazing group. We just are so excited. Arthur was just texting me about how amazing it's been to just see the growth in these last few meetings. And we have been on this mission to take all the amazing ideas that have sprung here in California and try to spread them across the country. And one of the places that has really taking a hold of the idea and trying to push even the envelope further is Texas. So having said that, I do want to share that the time is coming up here pretty short where we begin to give away the medals, the Velasquez medals that we've been doing for about maybe 10, 12 years. Every year we give out thousands of medals to districts who are looking to reward kids, and even if it's in a small way, who've done so much work to develop their biliteracy skills. And that window typically opens up in January. So just to keep your head up for that, we do give those away. And that's really been our participation with the Seal of Biliteracy for many years. But since then, we've also been experiencing a huge amount of interest from districts across the country, as I said, especially in Texas, who is going through this transformation right now of promoting and really trying to push biliteracy across the state. And they've been, requesting that we Velasquez work on ways to help them convince families and parents, especially, on how the Seal of Biliteracy can make a difference in their kids' lives and futures. So if you can move on to the next slide. We have been doing this over the last few years and have since this spring worked with a few districts that have implemented what we are calling the Velasquez Family Biliteracy Program, which is really a way to connect all the work that has been done for all these years in pushing the Seal of Biliteracy with their language program and building this connection to increase the buy-in of the community for developing biliteracy. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but just know that we have been working hard at figuring out ways that families can participate in their kids' education with the understanding that together as a group, they can develop biliteracy. There's been a huge push also in figuring out ways that we can get families to share their culture, not just the language. And so what we've been doing with this program is really identifying workshops and utilizing actually a very, very powerful tool that we co-produced with CABE, which is a book called No Estás Solo. That book, as some of you, I saw some of the folks that are joining us today, you guys are aware of that, has been really being used as a base to help connect families with this idea of becoming learners themselves and figuring out ways that they can leverage again their language and culture to get their kids to become better students. There is another slide here that I would like to share with you, for which we are putting together a series of webinars that hopefully you guys can share with your schools. It's the one after that, I believe. That you guys can share with your schools or districts, and it's actually coming up pretty shortly in the next few weeks. We've developed this series of webinars to help parents understand how they can go about implementing something like this in their schools. And I believe it's the next slide over where you guys can scan that barcode, yeah. And if you have the time, please share it. We will also be posting this, and maybe we could send out an email to you guys should you want, with the information where you guys can share the link and have parents join us.
Jonathan and Arthur, we thank you for being just really strong friends with Gabe and really connected with us across the state to help promote language, diversity, culture, and embracing familias. This part of the webinar, we will also include some of your links in our resource page for today's session so that folks that are here with us today are able to take that resource document. We'll put the bit.ly in the chat, and we'll add this to include it as well. There is a question, as you were speaking, Jonathan, there was a question from a parent regarding, the question was in Spanish, ¿cómo podemos reforzar a que en los distritos se haga más apoyo o recursos? So how might we have more support at the district level for the implementation? And I think it aligns very nicely to what you shared, Jonathan, but any words that you'd like to share on that?
Sí. So I'm going to respond in Spanish because it sounds like the parent made the question in Spanish. Gracias por la pregunta, el padre que la hizo. De hecho, una de las cosas que pueden hacer inmediatamente es compartir el link de este, es una serie de webinars que vamos a tener para los padres. Y una de las cosas que hemos intentado hacer nosotros como organización es de mirar qué, qué cosas se pueden hacer que son fácilmente implementadas, porque muchas veces las escuelas sienten que pues adoptar un nuevo programa es a veces es complicado y toma mucho tiempo. Y a través de estos webinars que vamos a ofrecer, nosotros les vamos a explicar cómo pueden ustedes tomar ideas que son prácticas y fáciles de implementar para que ustedes mismos puedan iniciar el trabajo en las escuelas y después pueden ir obviamente a hablar con los directores de las escuelas y ver qué recursos, qué apoyo les pueden ellos brindar, porque en realidad mucho del trabajo que se ha hecho a través del sello de biliteracidad, pues ha venido de las escuelas. Entonces ahora lo que queremos hacer es apoyar a ustedes como padres y darles a saber qué pueden ustedes también aportar para que podamos empujar a nuestros hijos a que se conviertan en recipientes del sello de biliteracidad. Así que la respuesta fácil es, tómele una foto al barcode que está aquí ahorita en la pantalla y compártalo por favor con otros papás. Y como ustedes son los padres de los niños que asisten a las escuelas, a la cuenta, ustedes son los clientes. Entonces, ustedes en realidad tienen la potestad de ir y hablar con su director y pedirles el apoyo.
Thank you, Jonathan. Muchas gracias, Jonathan. So Jonathan was responding to a question asked in Spanish by one of our parents about how we might be able to further collaborate with our schools and districts in support of the seal of biliteracy. And Jonathan, I probably won't be able to summarize it all in English, but just in short, Jonathan did invite the families, right, to join these webinars that are going to be empowering families with information on how to continue those relationships and conversations at the school levels, at the district level, for advocacy around the implementation of the pathway and the seal of biliteracy. I may have missed something, Jonathan, but thanks so much for that information. Of course, if questions are asked, we're going to continue to go through and support as best we can.
Yeah.
But thank you again, Velasquez Press, for this amazing resource. We look forward to inviting you back in February and perhaps sharing a little bit more or a little snippet of one of your maybe October 27th or December 8th sessions. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, wonderful. So as we move into today's program, if you have any questions for our colleagues and friends at Velasquez Press, please take a quick photo of this. You could reach them via phone or email. And remember, we will be sharing these slides with you, so you'll have all this contact information. So now it's a little bit of time for networking, Sarah, and I know we also have with us now our friend from San Diego State University. So we're going to try this for maybe about 5 to 7 minutes. It's going to be a very, very brief breakout rooms, but we want to give you an opportunity to really go into groups and have at least scratch the surface of these conversations. The breakout groups will be, number one, pathway to biliteracy. And we know our friends are here from the CDE today that have really given us so many resources and information around how do we recognize students at the elementary, middle school level, pathway to biliteracy. We also know, we heard from Angelica today, and many of us are already implementing the state seal of biliteracy at the high school level. This is our 10th year, right? And then we have with us today our colleagues and friends from San Diego State University under the leadership of Doctora Cristina Alfaro, the University SEAL. So we're going to break out for about 5 minutes. Please jump into these rooms and have these conversations on how are you already implementing the seal or a pathway, what has been successful, what might be a challenge you're experiencing, and what are the needs at your district to implement. We will drop the questions in the chat in just a moment. So Sarah, is there anything else before we quickly break out? Because I know we're a little pressured with time.
So I have opened the room, and because we are a big group, you should see if breakout rooms pops up at the bottom of your screen, you have an option to choose. You can see, I put a little diagram on the screen here. You can see if there's a bunch of people in one room, we suggest you go to another one of the same topic. And this is, you can, if you work in a school right now, this is going to be like a few seconds of what is passing period with people kind of like figuring out which room they're supposed to be in. So if you have put a number at the front of your name, we can assign you to a room. But just take a moment, go into those rooms to start those conversations. We'll put the questions in the chat as well. So just, again, you can, if you aren't able to change your name to include a number, you can put it in the chat and we'll just give us a second to drop you in a room. And if you put number 4, you don't care which one you're in, we'll put you in one of any of the above.
Okay, I think we're ready to open up the groups. We're going to be in groups for about 6 to 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And, then we're
And
gonna
they're
come
open,
back.
they're open.
Wonderful. And we do see several folks leaving. Para algunas personas que están con nosotros, estamos moviéndonos en grupos. Si estás interesado en conocer un poquito más sobre el reconocimiento de nuestros estudiantes a nivel de escuela elemental o secundaria, quizás vas a elegir número 1. Si estás interesado en conocer un poquito más sobre el sello de biliteracidad, o algunos lo conocemos como alfabetización bilingüe, el número 2. Y si quieres conocer un poquito más sobre el sello de la universidad, con nuestros colegas de la Universidad de San Diego, sería el número 3. Entonces, en este momento nos estamos moviendo rápidamente en grupos y regresamos aquí a las 4 en punto porque tenemos una presentación por la doctora Cristina Alfaro. Muchas gracias. Thank you. We will be back here at 4 sharp so that we can start our presentation from our friends at SDSU, Dr. Cristina Alfaro. If anybody needs some support, you can raise your hand or chat us and we'll be happy to move you to a room.
Yeah, and it's because of the number of people, we are moving people into rooms. And if you see the breakout rooms at the bottom, you should be able to select which room to go in.
Alexandra, I think we're going to do a pause on recording while we're in the breakout groups.
And we can always just cut this part out as well. It won't record in the breakout rooms.
Challenges. So we just closed the breakout groups and we're going to come back. And as we come back, we are having a presenter from San Diego State University, Dr. Alfaro, share about the implementation at the university level. Thank you for being here in the main group. Welcome back, participants. We're going to wait to get all of our colleagues back, but I know slowly many of our colleagues are coming back and we can see we have close to 100 of them back. Thanks for coming back. I hope your conversations went well. I know they were short conversations, but it's always important to kind of mix in a group and learn about some challenges or best practices around the seal of biliteracy, the pathway, and then also the needs of your district. So thank you so much for having those conversations in your groups. We look forward to future sessions where we can maybe have more time of networking in your groups. But as we move on to today's session, we do want to welcome another guest and friend of ours, Dr. Cristina Alfaro. She is with San Diego State University, and together through the MCAP Multilingual California Grant, an EWIG grant, we have been able to really support the implementation of a university seal of biliteracy and cultural competence. Dr. Alfaro, we thank you for your leadership. We know you have a team working behind to support university students with this implementation, looking at the exam, at the recognition. And, this is really a great example of how through the English Learner Roadmap policy, that systemic piece, principle number 3, and that alignment and articulation in principle number 4 comes alive. Dr. Alfaro, we're very honored to have you here, and we're looking forward to learning more about the project through our MCAP grant. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Dr. Castro. First of all, just for putting this webinar together. I also want to thank everyone that's presented before me for the amazing work that is being done. And for many years, 30 years of my life, I was working with K-12 education and bilingual teacher preparation. So in my new position as Associate Vice President for International Affairs, I've been able to bring everything that I learned and everything that I did in teacher education to now other components of the university. And that's what I'm going to present today, because we're super excited to have the collaboration with GABE, with Multilingual California, to be able to do this. So then what happens? Because the question was, what happens after students graduate from high school, right? What is the pathway that they can continue their biliteracy development? So this is what this program has done. So we launched this program on spring 2021. And one of the key things that I was sharing with the group that I was in the breakout room with is that we're not just looking at the linguistic aspect of it. It's not just about language, but it's also about being culturally competent. And so students, go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, let me just say something. For those of you, you see the, go back to the other one, please, where it says University Seal of Biliteracy. I think you all have this PowerPoint. If you click on it, it takes you to our website and it gives you all the details of what this is. So you can look at that when you have time, but let's go to the next slide. So the University Seal of Biliteracy and Cultural Competence. In the next slide, you will see that it is everyone at the university can apply for this. It's an official certificate and a digital badge that students can earn through participating in a cultural and linguistic immersion experience. So it's using the language. I was explaining to the group earlier that students now, before I was working in the bilingual teacher preparation program, that was what I did as far as bilingualism. Now we've expanded it to all majors. So right now, a major that we're really focusing on is a health major, health and medical services. So we need bilingual people desperately. So we have a program that we're sending students to Oaxaca to improve their cultural and linguistic competence. So what we do is we're looking at them scoring at a working proficiency level on the ACTFL scale in reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And right now we're doing it in Spanish, but we intend to open it up to other languages. How did I do this? One of the things that we looked at is you have to look at what is your university strategic plan. And when I was able to look at, how much emphasis we put into being a trans-border Hispanic serving institution, which many of you are too, then we looked at this as a way to honor and value the language of our transborder region and also our Latinx community. So that was like the tagline of how we were able to do the work that we're doing right now at San Diego State. Next slide, please. Okay, so the way that we have been able to roll this out here at the university is we have done our research. And if you look at a lot of the job postings that are right now requiring bilingualism and biliteracy skills, it's very high. It's a real high demand. And of course, Spanish, the fact that we're in California or even in the US, is the language that is in most demand. We have increasingly that professional sectors are looking at this. When we do the orientations for students, they're like, why should I get this? And so you do it for that, but it's also, the cultural competence that, we really need to have students that are more globally, that have global perspectives. They have they're able to really understand the regions that we live in and the borders that, the contrasting borders that we live in. And this can be found in the New American Economy. That's the resource that I use to get this information. Okay, next slide, please. So what we have done is we are in my unit now with International Affairs is we provide internships, research abroad, study abroad, transborder opportunities. We also, for those that are not able to leave the country, we have a collaborative online learning, which is COIL. And we have other multiple experiences. So you don't have to get on a plane to get this experience, but you have to immerse yourself in some kind of whether it's a project or whether it's working, so that you really understand the culture. And once again, it's looking at the 4 areas so that students are able to show their competency. Okay, next one, please. Okay, so here are some students that, we are so happy to say that we've been able to interview. One of the key things that we've done is every step of the way, we have been conducting research. In fact, on the call right now, on Zoom right now, Lysandra Perez, who is our graduate assistant, she is coordinating the program and she's helping with coordinating the research part of it. And this is just a quote of one of the students. She says, I can say I speak Spanish to future employers. But like my mom always says, el papelito habla, this paper talks. So it's good to have a certification that shows I took a test and I am proficient in Spanish. So this is just one quote of someone being very proud of graduating with the University Global Seal of Biliteracy, which is the first of its kind. Okay, next. This is a student, an African-American student that grew up in a Latinx speaking community. And he says, I'm elated that upon my graduation, my bilingual life context is valued through an official certificate or badge. So this is someone that he basically learned it on the street, being with people. And then when he saw that this program was available, he got into it and got the seal. So these are just examples of students in different majors. Okay, next slide, please. So again, if you click on this, we have a story. The first student that received the seal, we were so excited and we were celebrating. And so we did a whole news story here for the newspaper, for the university, and for she was a business student, business marketing student. And again, she never had bilingual education, but it was just her life. Her life was bilingual, as many of ours are, right? And so she was able to take this exam and show her competence. And now she graduated with her marketing degree and the university seal. So go to the next one. So these are just examples of what had happened. So what does this all mean? So we want all universities to be able to begin their pathway for university seals of biliteracy. Just like we have done with the bilingual teacher preparation program here at San Diego State, we always want to share. And one of the things that I know is always helpful is, how did you get started? Because those are the questions that people are asking me, is like, how do you get started? So with GABE, with MCAP, one of the things that we're doing is we've developed a handbook, and it's a guidance for institutions of higher education to work on establishing a seal of biliteracy. So the parts that we have right now are looking at, what do you have to do before instituting the seal? So one of the key things, of course, is that you need institutional support. You also have to leverage what the support is, and then figure out what is the language that would be most interesting or for your community. In ours, we're in HSI, we're on the border, so of course Spanish. But now we're intaking forms from students that are looking at other language possibilities that they would want to have. But we're trying to do a really good job with the Spanish before we start to venture out to other languages, which we will probably by next year. And then we look at, the pilot year, the second part of doing this, and then how do you sustain the seal? How do you sustain the seal right now? Right now we've been working with the MCAP grant that has been it's like seed money to help us continue it. But in order to sustain it, we just wrote a grant for the U.S. Department of Education for 3.5 million. And I just used what we're doing right now and the plans that we have to expand this so that we can really make it a sustainable program. So we're waiting to hear, we're going to hear at the end of this month. So hopefully we get it and we'll be able to expand it even more, but just looking for additional opportunities so that this doesn't end when the MCAP grant, is no longer available. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So this is what the handbook looks like. We have not released it yet. I believe we're going to release it at GABE this year, right, Alma? So this is, and it's a living document because we continue to add more to it. But this is what we have now, and we have shared it with Cal Poly. They are piloting a program this year, and so and it's been really good to work with them because we're seeing is what we're saying in the handbook, the instructions that we're given, are they really helpful? So it's been really good to get feedback from them because they've got the administrative support to do it as well. But the whole idea is that many other universities in California would also be able to do this so that students have that the lengthening their language learning line all the way to the PhD. So we're looking at the biliteracy from pre-K to 20 education. Okay, next one, please. So very quickly, this is a program that we right now we've expanded it to the Imperial Valley campus. It's right on the border of Mexicali. So in fact, I was just there 2 days ago. We were recruiting for this. And there, 98% of the students are Latinos and about 95% are bilingual. So they're super excited to graduate with their degrees and be able to get the seal. So we're expanding it to them. We are also starting a freshman semester abroad for the School of Public Health, and a big attraction is the seal. We've also started this year a pilot program with a bilingual teacher preparation program that they are also going to be measuring their language with the seal. So we had 60 students, I think, take the exam, and I think there's another 40 that are going to be taking it in a couple of months. So we're working, and we are also doing a research project with that. We're establishing, just protocols to be able to get the research behind that as well, just to be able to inform the field, continue to inform the field as we go along. Okay, next slide, please. This is the doctoral program that I was telling you about this last summer. We now have students that are graduating with their PhD and the university seal of biliteracy. Why is this important? As when I was department chair for the bilingual preparation program, you hire professors that, like literacy professors, but there's never any evidence that they have, that they can read, speak, write, and in the second language. You just pretty much say like, yeah, I'm bilingual, that's it. So this, many of our students are saying, is going to be that extra evidence, is like, yes, I've got a PhD in biliteracy, and I also have a seal of biliteracy to indicate that I can do all these 4 domains. But it's not just in education, it's other PhDs as well. So we're super excited about that, and that's going to be a continuing program. Next slide, please. So this is a program that I was telling you about global health in Oaxaca. So again, a big attraction here is that they're going to be taking language courses there, and then take they are able to do their cultural experience and then come back, take the exam, and graduate with their seal of biliteracy. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is what is next. We're looking at expanding the seal to psychology, to counseling, to the science, to business, to technology. And then we are also, the big view now, as you establish things, is what I'm presenting to my president is like, how about we are positioned to become a bilingual dual language university, so that we're not just doing a piecemeal, but that we also move towards including other languages, and that we can be a binational, bilingual, dual language university. So I think that is the end of my presentation. Any questions, please?
Cristina, thank you so much. I think we're going to move it over to the next one. But before we do, Dr. Alfaro, just thank you for your work and, you know, for your vision in implementing something new at the university level. And it's something really big, aligning to the state policy of recognition of language and culture across the state through the English Learner Roadmap policy, right? And really taking us into this vision of PK20 model of biliteracy. So Dr. Alfaro, I really thank you for having us really think of how do we take it next step? How do we go to the next step after high school? And how do our students continue to strengthen their language, their biliteracy skills, even beyond high school? The handbook and the guidance for the IHEs, the goal is really, as Dr. Alfaro shared, that we launch it at the CABE conference. We hope that you will join us there at the CABE conference in March 2023 in Long Beach. And I really appreciate you sharing about the handbook, the before the seal, the pilot year, and sustaining the seal. And part of the sustainability is sharing this information so that we continue to build awareness and to garner resources to continue this project. So again, Dr. Alfaro and your team, thank you so much for coming in today. As more questions come up, we will be reaching out to you. Just mark your calendar for now. February 8th is our next biliteracy seal. So we always welcome you to join the next sessions. Colleagues and friends, we know we are a little bit past time, but we want to let you know that on the slides that you're going to receive today, you have access to the whole slide deck, as well as you'll have access to the presentation links, and then a resource link folder. But I do want to share with you that our next network will be on February 8th. I'm going to leave this on for just a little bit, February 8th at 3:15, where we're going to continue the conversation with what Dr. Alfaro shared, right? Lengthening those language lines, and also ideating on how do we further implement the pathway to biliteracy that was introduced by our colleagues at the California Department of Education, and how do we get more seniors to attain the state seal of biliteracy. Today's presenters shared several resources that will also be available to you through that folder. So again, we want to thank you for being here with us this afternoon. We wish you a good evening, and thank you for all you do to support the 1.1 million multilingual learners across the state of California. Thank you for your leadership in PK-12. And for those of you that are joining us from higher education, thank you for valuing and validating multiple language at the university level as well. We look forward to seeing you on February 8th at our next session. Have a good evening, everyone. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and stop recording.